First of all, part of the talk is to sort of tell you a little bit about my background and where I came from. And I think everybody in business has a different background, and mine happened to be that I started out as a tradesman. I did foundations, I did carpentry, painting, all that sort of stuff, and didn't realize that at the time how much of a blessing that was going to be to me. And as things progressed, and the last time the oil price was doing crazy things and the government was doing crazy things, the large company I worked for gave me an opportunity to go on my own. So that's what happened then. And, and that was in the mid-'80s. And so a few things I'm going to talk about tonight. One is managed growth, and one is empowering employees, and another one is going to be managing relationships. And it's interesting how those things tie together, and I'm going to go in that order and probably mix things up a little bit as I go. In the beginning it was 2 houses a year, and then it was 4 houses a year, and then it was 8 houses a year, and then they reached a point there was probably a potential to do 20 houses a year, but there really wasn't the resources. So, you know, you sort of had to get it at a point that there was the resources and move it forward. And so growth is an interesting thing that we deal with, because part of the growth is you can't push the growth. You can't necessarily grow if there isn't a market there, and yet when there is a market there, you can bite off too much and run into some problems that way. So kind of the point of my first segment, or the growth segment, is that you really need to be prepared for growth. You have to accept the opportunity of growth. You've got to take that opportunity when you get it. But if there's a big opportunity and you can't handle it, you got to sit back and say, okay, next time I'm going to take that opportunity. And the best example is when an economy turns like it did recently, and like it has a few times over our lifespan as Trueline. If you're too busy trying to get an opportunity, all of a sudden you're way out there. When the wind turns and the sail's not catching wind anymore, it's like, okay, how do we get back to home base, right? So you got to manage that and watch that as you go. So kind of the second part of my little talk is empowering employees and turning over things as you go, because again, that's another tough one a little bit, in the sense that you've got to have the funds available, you've got to be producing enough to pay those people as well. And so you sort of, I'm not sure how to describe it, but it's almost something that you stretch it as far as it can stretch, and then you've got to back it up. And that means hiring an employee, designating something, moving something along so the tension's off, and then you let it tension up again. And of course the income has to be there, and I mean, a lot of your bank people, the income has to be there to pay those people. So you got to get that balance right. It's been really interesting for us, empowering people and getting staff doing more as time goes. You know, some of our key staff and some of the stories that you know, are really interesting are staff that came in one role and over time have become a completely different role. You know, like in our own world, our construction manager started as a service guy. Our gal that does the customer design stuff and works the customers right from beginning to end came as a site assistant in the beginning. Our gal that we're losing, because she's having her second child, came as kind of an entry-level gal on the accounting side and ended up the controller. Like it's interesting how if you give people opportunity to grow, how well you will grow, and they're part of that growth with you, and in the end, how strong and powerful you can be as a team, right? So we've been blessed ourselves, just the number of people we've had that have been able to flex and change and really become awesome members of our team, right? So. You know, we've been really fortunate with that. This is Trueline's 25th year, and there's a number of trades, suppliers, etc. that we've had from day one. We still use our original lumber supplier. We've still got the same original plumbing contractor. Still use the same door supplier. Still use the same financial institute. Servus is the only financial institute Trueline has ever had an account with, other than you've changed your name 3 times. So technically we've had three different financial institutes. But still the same people, and what's really interesting is I can look around the room and it's still the same group of faces that I'm familiar with, and over the years, one example to do with Servus is like way early on in the beginning, Neil Orr was a manager at one time years ago, and that was our first account manager, and he's passed away a number of years ago, but he believed in us, and the first back house, there is no way we should have got that program and got that on the go, and you know what, he believed in us and helped us do that. And some of our trades has been really interesting, and this kind of makes me feel old a little bit, I guess, but our plumbing company, for example, has changed hands. It's in the next generation's hands now. Our electrical company has changed hands. They're in the next generation's hands. And so now we're just friends with the people we used to deal with, and we do business with their children, right? So it's interesting watching the evolution of time and how that goes, and you don't realize how important those relationships are until you get in a situation where, you know, there's something that's got to be solved, and the buy-in you get from people you've done business with a long time, and they know you're going to continue to do business. They'll step up to the plate. You step up to the plate. You make it happen. And we try and pay our bills on time and all that sort of stuff. Well, we do pay our bills on time, but those sorts of things all make a difference to the trades. But knowing they're getting another job just keeps them interested in doing the right thing on the job they've just done, right? So that sort of stuff really, really is important. I know Eric, when we were chatting about things, he said, well, what's your business philosophy that you believe in the most, or you think would be your slogan, so to speak, or that sort of thing? And I said, well, you know what? Really, for me, it's one of the 10 commandments, and it's simply doing unto others as you would have done unto yourself. If you think that one through, you can use it for your trades, your suppliers, your customers, your family. Doesn't matter who you use it. If you take that one and move forward, that'll get you to where you want to be. And I know it's not much of a business thing as per such, but I think it's a good kind of a life thing to put together. So I don't know. I don't know what else I should really touch base on. That's the highlights of what we've chatted about. And so I think, kind of in summary, success to a small business that, you know what, you can make it as big as you want to make it. But if you treat people right, if you manage your growth, if you manage your relationships, and ultimately in every business, you need to learn and understand your product. And I know in my case, having done as much of the trade jobs as I did in the beginning, that really gave me the advantage to be able to sort through things with trades, go out and solve a problem. And in the early days, I was on every site all the time. And I think one thing that I sort of missed out on, though, although I did talk about the importance of the employees and their growth, is that within any organization, every employee is important in their own right. And I think, because the question was asked, how do you have employee retention? Like, we've got a lot of employees that have been there a very long time. And you know what, the day, and I use this example quite often, the day that the electrical trench has been dug, the cables are laying in there, and the mud sloughed because it rained, the city will not splice that power. So the poor person that has to go down that ditch in the mud, clean that out so the city will splice it, that guy's the most important guy, period. And if nobody will do that, that house can never be lived in. So you just think it through, and if you give all of your employees the merit and the credit for, you know what, they take turns, but every one of them has the day that they're the hero.